darkened wings they shone as night, risen up from ash and fright, seeking dawn amidst the blue, chasing dreams I once knew. Feathers charred by ancient fire, from the darkness they aspire. Silent whispers through the trees, guiding me with gentle breeze. White ravens soar into the sun, unfolding truth that's just begun. From shadows cold to blazing sky, we find our light as we fly high. Past is but a fleeting wish, echoes in the night's only. It's Brenda Wolf and Diane, so listen up if you can. Yeah, journey with them today as they help you find your way. Oh, mental wellness is the topic of the hour. Mental health and the power to tap into our alignments will lead to our refinements. Phoenix Talks, a show like you've never seen. Phoenix Talks, awareness that has never been. Phoenix Talks with Brenda Wolf and Diane. Phoenix Talks, so tune in if you can.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 15 of Phoenix Talks. I am Brenda Wolf, and I am joined by my lovely co-host right next to me, Diane
Hi.
Biasi. And we have quite an interesting topic to talk about today, and I think I'm really loud, so I'm going to turn that down just a
We do. This is your topic, so
No.
talk to me. What are you thinking
And,
on
you know,
this one?
It's so crazy because I came up with it so long ago, it feels like, that I forgot what the topic was, and I had to remind myself by go watching the promo for it. But it was quite possibly because the stories that are in my own tree of life. So that's the topic that we're going to talk about today. What's your stories in your tree of life? Because so many times we try and search for wisdom. Now, we can acquire knowledge like nobody's business. I mean, that's the beauty of human beings, is that we can acquire so much knowledge by seeking it out and looking for it. But one thing that we strive to try and find is wisdom.
Yeah.
But here's the catch. You already have it. Every human being on the planet already has in their cells, in your DNA, in your very essence, in your being, wisdom. So when you are looking, and that this is going to be the lead in for the rest of the conversation. So when you are seeking for wisdom, take a peek within, get still, get calm, because that's when you're going to find it. Sydney Banks once said that the place where wisdom lies is in between thought. It's in that space, it's in that quiet space when you allow your mind to get quiet and just allow what guidance will come through. That, because it doesn't matter what your beliefs are. You can be an atheist, and this is still true. You can say that there are no belief systems that I'm going to take a part of. Guess what? Well, that's still a belief system. So check on that one.
Right, right.
It is. So when it comes to seeking out that wisdom, it's based on what you've been through throughout your life, what you've experienced, and then the things that you have yet to experience that you brought with you into this life.
Yeah. I was excited about this topic, Micah, specifically because our life experience is compiled of a story, and each individual circumstance and situation that we recall and that has influenced us is part of our story. And as we evolve and grow and heal, it's how do we view that story now? How do we view those different ways that story affected all the different aspects and branches in our life? And how did that story carry in? You had mentioned sometimes it's generational trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and in our quote unquote DNA, where we take on the stories of our ancestors, and that includes our parents and grandparents and first teachers, whoever they may be.
Right.
And so I was really excited about this topic because we don't often talk about what our perspective of our story, how that affects our decisions in our everyday life, and how it affects the stories that we create new going forward.
Yeah. And how do we mesh that with the perspective and perceptions in the world around us? Because I don't know what the last count is on the human population, but we're approaching 9 billion
Mm-hmm.
people on the planet, which means that there are almost 9 billion realities.
Right.
Because your perspective, your perception is your reality. No one else's. And it's highly based on your stories that you tell yourself, the thoughts that come to mind, the reminders. And I'm getting an image of, it's time to trim the tree.
Yeah.
So you cut off a dead branch. Well, it leaves a scar, it leaves a mark, or a storm comes in, and either through wind, heavy rain, snow, lightning, whatever the case is, a branch is taken off, and it's left with that scar.
Yeah, and that's life changes. You change your job, you change your house, you change your partner, you change friendships. Those branches that fall off are supposed to, and how you view those branches is what you take with you going forward. So I would love to dive into, how do we view the branches that we have in our story so that we can use them productively when we grow and achieve new branches, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Going forward. And I think the first thing to remember is that the trunk and the roots are always, our natural state of being is love, and is in that state of ease, that gratitude, that compassion, that joy. That's all natural state of being. So what in your story, as years went on and the tree got bigger and the branches started blowing out, what in your story influenced you in a negative way that brought you to where you're at now? So when you reflect, how are you reflecting on yourself? How are you viewing it? Do you just want to chop the whole tree down and start over? Do you wish there were more storms to just, get rid of all the branches for you? Or are you reflecting and viewing things from a place of learning?
Right.
So that you can strengthen the tree and the roots and the branches, and it grows healthy and strong and thrives. We're using this tree analogy tonight. We're kind of going to beat a dead horse, but that's okay.
Well, for what almost 2 years now, we have been no, 2 seasons, we have been talking about the different branches of each topic, but we
Mhm.
haven't brought it home.
Yeah.
And I think that's one reason why it was okay. It's time to talk about it. It's time to bring all of this home. Doesn't mean that we're going to end this series or this podcast. We are far from over. But
So much to say.
oh my God, yes. so many experiences to
Yeah.
talk about, and like,
Yeah.
help me out, because my thoughts decided to branch out into
Totally fine.
directions.
There are so many different experiences that build us and build our personality, build our way of thinking, build our experiences. So I know I want to reflect on the way in which we perceive ourselves when we're analyzing all that we've experienced in our branches in our life.
Mhm.
And yes, we've been referring to everything as a branch because of the fact that whatever your issues are, they will show up in every aspect of your life. So those
Like
are all
it
the branches.
like it or not, it's part of you. And I'll give you an example that just happened today, because there was a comment made by somebody in my past that came to mind. And it was one about my physical appearance. And it came to mind.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I need to push this thought away, because this isn't true. This isn't what I believe. Or is it? Is it something that I choose to believe? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to bring happy thoughts in. I'm going to bring people who smile at me, who hug me, who have supported me, whatever the case is. And I'm going to push that particular person to the back in my mind. Now, here's the tough part, and this is why it matters to what she just said. It didn't matter how far I tried to push that person out of sight and push that thought out, it was still there.
Mm-hmm.
How I choose to allow it to affect me is the story I get to write. I can allow it to affect me in a negative way, make me look at myself in a different light. Or I can realize that that comment was just being mean, being cruel.
Right. Right.
And I can accept that lie or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is a story. This is an example of a story that happens, because our thoughts are our stories.
Yeah. Yeah. And you basically show everybody that you are doing the work that you need to do in order to shift your perspective on your view of yourself. You recognize what you experienced in your past. You recognize the trigger, how it made you feel, and you recognize this is not how I choose to move forward. And
Right.
the story that I'm going to tell myself is one of love and compassion towards myself and productivity towards what you actually want. So kudos for how you worked yourself through it. But yeah, it's little things like that that are going to come up. And
Mhm.
are you going to maintain that same old story of self-deprecation and self-doubt and unworthiness and whatever stories you want to tell yourself, and how that's going to affect you in every aspect of life? It's going to affect you in your work. It's going to affect you in your relationships. It's going to affect you in your putting yourself out there in your career. It's
Yeah.
just a little different category than work.
It's still work, but
Right.
of a different kind.
The different branches within work itself,
Oh,
you
God,
know,
yeah.
like, so it's going to affect what you the choices that you make, where you choose to live, how you choose to live. So it's lifestyle, it's everything.
Mhm.
That how you perceive yourself and view yourself and analyze those branches affect you.
Mhm.
So I guess this episode we're going to be reminding people how to love themselves through whatever and change the stories that they tell themselves and revisit those stories and decide which ones they want to just chop out of the way completely,
Right.
which parts need pruning.
This week was Earth Day. Yesterday was Earth Day. And in the other shows that I DJ and host, The Messengers and Brindle's Vision, the collective readings were very much about stability and home and returning to home, making sure that you are taking care of yourself and taking care of those roots. Now, we can't go too literal with the imagery and metaphor of the tree, because the tree has roots and it don't move until it does.
Yeah.
But it doesn't just pick up and go wherever it wants to. That's where the metaphor kind of ends. But as long as it has strong roots, it doesn't matter what storms come along, it can weather them. That's back. Because we go through life and we have so many different storms. We have so many different things that happen that threaten, that bring in toxins that we have to remove. Seeing lichen on a tree that is trying to take over with that.
Yeah.
Here he comes.
Jasper. He's back. I told you.
we were getting a very good laugh prior to about making my fur baby.
Yes. I said Jasper's going to make an appearance. Don't worry. He's got to tell us he's present now.
I'm present. I don't like the current food that's in my bowl. Could you replace it, please?
He's definitely part of this chapter in your story.
It really, really is. He really, really, really is.
Yeah. And, that's one of the stories that we tell ourselves, is that our fur babies are meaningful to us and family and whatnot. But I do particularly enjoy viewing an animal, my fur babies anyway, as a teacher. And that's how I prefer to see some aspects of some individuals or some my fur babies in my story, is to view them as my teachers. What can I learn from this animal? What can I learn from this human being who either made me feel fantastic or made me feel like shit? Either way, I'm learning something about myself.
Exactly.
Yes. My dog, Marie, she taught me how to set boundaries. A dog taught me how to set boundaries. There's plenty of stories in that one.
I can imagine.
And how there's plenty of stories, but if you're willing to view the experiences that you have in people, places, things, and animals, that kind of thing, then you can definitely use that information to help yourself create a healthier story for yourself moving forward and create new branches that are going to bloom and thrive.
100%.
Thank you, Jasper, for that segue back in.
Yes. Because there's so many different elements to how we build our trunks, build around the heart center, which that in a meditative analogy, our heart is the trunk, and everything above and below goes into the branches and the foliage and reaching up to try and drink in the sunlight And then below the heart is everything trying to maintain stability and being grounded and being connected. And it's not just being connected to the earth, it's also being connected to yourself and to everybody around you.
Mhm.
When you get caught up in emotional stories from the past, which, yes, they're in the branches. Yes, you can see them. Yes, you can feel them. But they don't exist. It's like hanging a picture on a wall that was taken when you were a child. Yes, your parents made you put on that outfit that you hate. You hated what they made you wear, but you went, you sat in front of the photographer, made you feel cute, made you smile, hopefully. You might have screamed for a little bit, and then they'd have to
It
get the
might have looked like this.
guys. Yeah, right, right. You might have had some of those faces like, okay, I'm smiling, take the camera. But this only happened. You only know this happened because you have a picture on the wall.
Yeah.
Because that happened so long ago that unless a hugely magnanimous event took place, you don't remember it. It doesn't exist. You only have something to look at.
Right. And on that note, our stories that we tell ourselves and the way we remember things are, like you mentioned before, are incredibly different than those in our experience. The shared experience looks very, very different from one person to the next. So, to the photographer, you could have been that annoying little kid who could not sit still for half a second. But to that little kid, if you threw him a compliment and said, "You look great," and you gave him patience,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't know what you were experiencing.
Nope.
That little kid might have gotten nurtured, and that might be a happy memory for them because you didn't show them all that. You showed them patience and you gave them compliments to help them, were silly to help them smile. So that
Absolutely.
might be a good memory.
Absolutely.
For
And that also segues into another thought, because if you're having a moment, and this isn't I don't want this to be, okay, I'm having a shit day, so I'm going to put on a mask and I'm going to make you happy. That's not what this is. But there are times when you bring up the fact that you are walking, living, breathing love, life, and energy. All of you are. Every single last one of us. And you permeate that out. Your body recognizes it. Your mind and emotions recognize that feeling. And it expands for you, through you, so that the story has a chance to soften. Funny,
Yes.
funny story about that. When I was working at Domino's, and I would have a new hire, and I would give them the warning signs of when I was going to possibly lose it. When I would say, if I'm smiling, run, it's because I was at that point of completely trying to hold everything together. Now,
Wow.
a magic thing happens when I get to that point, because everything is wonderful and I have this smile on my face that everybody just runs from, because it's like looking at the clown from It.
What an analogy.
It's that, get away from me now, smile, and everything's wonderful. And this is how I used to operate. But when I would hit that point, I would switch to that almost quite naturally, and I would be over nice. And you know what happened as a result of being over nice?
You didn't get your needs met?
I calmed down.
Oh, just checking.
I calmed down because I was more nice. I was forcing to move away from rage into a different feeling.
Okay.
It wasn't
That makes
alleviating the
sense.
problem, it was just shifting the experience. And it almost happened quite naturally, almost in a survival way, defense mechanism way. But I was able to calm down. So
Oh,
and that's
good.
the whole point, was because I was having a rough day, and I decided, and the really funny part is I thought I was being overly passive aggressive when I was actually just being freaking nice
Okay.
and providing exactly what people around me needed. Isn't that crazy?
So let's talk about that for a second. I'm going to take this, I'm going to take that and make a branch.
Go for it. Go for it. We're talking about trees today, so go for it.
Because a lot of the times when you're authentically showing up and intentionally showing up with kindness and compassion at the core, it is misperceived and misinterpreted. So it muddies your stories that you're telling yourself, because you have all these individuals surrounding you that are not understanding your genuine sincerity
Mhm.
and genuine intentions, because they haven't reached that place for themselves. And are you letting that affect you going forward, or are you going to be steadfast and strengthen those roots of love, and that, the core of your tree,
Right.
with the knowledge that it's okay? It's okay if my intentions are misperceived as something that isn't sincere. It's okay, because I know the truth, so I'm stronger. And I think that's the whole idea, is to make sure that you give yourself an opportunity to strengthen yourself. Excuse my disappearing act. I had to plug in my computer. I forgot to do that before. Whoops.
Things.
Live action.
Well, at least I remembered to unmute us after the opening. So, because I
We're
was
making it
forgetting
happen.
to do that during Rebel's Vision yesterday. These things, they happen.
But yeah, so I love that you were able to find a way to help yourself reach a peaceful level within. And I love that you were able to rise above that,
Still had to
the
give a warning to newbies
noise.
so that they would know not to approach me in those moments.
Hmm. And that's you just stating your boundaries and expressing your needs and meeting them for yourself.
Right.
So that sometimes that authenticity and sincerity is misperceived. And so as long as you strengthen the core and you strengthen the roots of yourself, you won't have others' misconceptions of you affect you. You'll be able to maintain, you'll be able to nurture yourself and nurture the love within.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Lord
what's,
knows we,
Go
go ahead.
I want them to think about what stories you carry around with you. What do you tell yourself when you're experiencing something? Just bring something to mind. Doesn't matter,
Right.
good, bad, ugly. What doesn't matter. Bring something to mind. What's the story behind it? How does it make you feel when you think about it?
Right.
Is it something that you don't want to think about? Is it something that you want to think about? Is it something that makes you feel good? Is it something that makes you feel bad? Does it change your mood? Does it change your behavior when you think about it? What story, what character are you writing for yourself when you have these thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
And an interesting exercise, which I might try myself, but an interesting exercise that I was just intuiting is to, how we take a piece of paper and we draw the trunk, and then we just do the bubble leaves around it, Well, draw that trunk on a piece of paper if you want to. You don't have to. I don't care if you do or not. Do it in your mind. I don't care. Write a word for a branch. Write an experience. Write a photo. Family gathering. Abuse. Whatever the case is. Whatever those branches are. Write them. And write them so that the sentences, so they, or phrases or words, so that they look like a branch.
Mm-hmm.
This is your story. This is your tree. What's on it? What's in it?
Yeah.
What's in your root?
If you're having trouble writing that, you can ask for help from a handful of trusted individuals in your inner circle. You choose who those people are, and you can trust, would go for them for advice or to talk to for something, then they are a trusted source. And ask them for their favorite memory of you. Ask them for what their first impression of you when they first met you. Ask them for, if they were to describe you in 5 words or less, how would they describe you? And take that information and help build your tree. And I find that the individuals who add that exercise in before sitting down to write the homework that Micah gave, it helps them see themselves through a healthier lens than they realized about themselves. It might help you connect to that love that you have for yourself more consciously.
Mm-hmm. And Carrie, who just joined the chat, we weren't talking about a family tree, just so you know.
Okay.
That's something completely different and not really the topic of the show.
We're talking about all the different branches and ways that your life experience has built your story.
Yes.
And all the stories that pile on and come from that story or those stories, and how we can view and perceive ourselves differently and in different ways in order to nurture new, healthier branches and prune the ones that are no longer serving us and all that wonderful stuff.
And I'm certain that I have permission, because she's one of my dearest friends, to lightly share that, okay, what I was talking about was that time when you were 17, those relationships that you were just getting out of, the times when you felt special. These are the branches that we're talking about. The stories that have made your life what it is. The ones that you want to continue to tell yourself, the ones that you want to eliminate. You want to prune the tree? Prune the tree. You are, and not just you, Carrie, you, but everybody, you are your own authors. You are your own landscapers, however you want to view this.
Right.
If you don't like the thoughts that you're having in your head about situations and emotions that you have and feelings that you want to get rid of, only you can rewrite them.
Mm-hmm. Which helps me segue back into, if you're viewing yourself through that lens of learning about yourself and shifting your perspective into an alignment with love, you're going to have a different experience moving forward. So, for example, I could still very easily be living in a story built from the experiences on all the different branches that I've lived through surrounding bullying and abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And do I want to keep maintaining that victim story, or do I want to reflect on myself from a place of, oh, well, I was the one who carried the presentation and looked good. I was the one who did, this. I was the one who did that. You have to go through that list in your mind and say, well, do you want to say that I was a victim of, or do you want to say that I was actually strong enough and brave enough to stand up for myself and say no and accept more? Yeah, it wasn't easy. And yeah, things were very ugly. However, in the grand scheme of things, was able to navigate through hell for the most part. Like I was, like nothing was going on. Like everything was honky dory. So like, I'm not, my only point in saying that is because it's how I'm trying to view myself now.
Mm-hmm.
And how I'm not maintaining this old stories and the dead branches of victimhood, unworthiness, undeserving, worthless, all the old stories that came with all those experiences. I don't believe in those. Now I look back and reflect, damn, you were badass for making it through that shit. Holy crap. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to change how you view all of those stories and shift your energy of them, shift your emotions of them and around them.
Right. I mean, it's like I did talk to you prior to, I didn't tell you that I was going to use it as an example, but just this recently, over the weekend, and I talked about this on the messengers and Brindle's Vision, where the story of scarcity and not having enough was trying to creep back in, and prevent me from moving forward with courage and conviction to change that. Because I could have looked at the situation like, oh my God, why am I always here? I'm always struggling. I'm never getting beyond survival. No.
Yeah.
Just do.
Yeah.
Just push through. And because like a beast, got through it.
Right.
And sometimes the things that you go through, you don't want to completely chop down the tree and hope that it's just going to sprout up a new trunk system and a whole new branch system. That only in reincarnation, which is a completely different topic. You can't cut it all down. It all happened. It's all part of you. But what'd you do with what you went through?
Right. Hence the reason why we need to come from that space of learning about ourselves through the eyes of love, because ultimately the experiences that we have are showing us what we like and don't like, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what we choose to experience, what we don't choose to experience, but experience anyway. And do we really want to do that going forward? Like there's just all these little pieces of learning material for yourself to analyze and reflect on lovingly.
And a branch of that is, of wisdom, is that. Because wisdom comes from experience.
Right.
Knowledge, not so much. I mean, granted, don't get me wrong. You look how to do something and you go and try it based on the knowledge that you got in. Okay, sure.
Knowledge helps you connect the dots to the wisdom.
That part.
They work together very nicely.
They do.
But ultimately, the wisdom doesn't happen without the experiences, like you said. You've got to have these different branches and these different experiences in order to reflect, and the knowledge on how to reflect on it in a loving way so that you could take that information and choose to take actions like you did to do something different.
Exactly. It's a decision.
Yes. I made a conscious choice to never allow myself to be disrespected again, but that started with me not disrespecting myself. We learn how to be treated, but we have to accept if it's not appropriate and not healthy, why do we maintain it?
And if the stories that we're telling ourselves are causing us to create the realities that continue that story, time
Mhm.
to get out the eraser and erase that.
Mhm. Right.
Or the whiteout, whichever reference you want to use. Like, back
Yeah.
to baseball.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rewrite your story.
So you got your homework for tonight. What's your story? And your story today isn't what your story was 5 years ago, isn't what your story was 10 years ago. You're evolving, and that's a beautiful thing. We're supposed to evolve. What parts of that story are you still taking with you? What or are you converting those experiences into wisdom?
Yeah, and there's so many different branches of just stories that we can,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
the stories of loss
Hmm.
and not being able to grieve
Hmm.
because we don't want to experience without that story
Hmm.
because there's a fear of experiencing without whatever that is because we don't know what's going to happen to us if we do, and then we'll shame ourselves because we forget about somebody that passed away.
Yeah.
And we only get reminded on occasion. No, we want that constant reminder that this person was in our lives and made this impact. That's just one branch. I could keep going on that one. But then
Yeah.
there's the story of you lost a job for whatever reason, whether you caused it or not. Okay, well, you still have obligations that you've agreed to. You don't have to. You agreed to them. You don't have to. But if you want to fulfill those obligations, you got to change the story.
Hmm.
There's so many different. I mean, this is why the Library of Congress could never hold all of the stories that are actually told. Think about that.
Oh, yes, yes. How many branches are even in family dynamics? Like, how much do you combat with
Just-
family members because you each hang on to a specific story of your own perspective? So is that stuff healthy and productive and loving towards yourself? It's just see it as data. I like to say that, which sounds very detached, but I do practice being detached.
sometimes you have to detach from what you've experienced so that
Right.
you can take a different look.
Exactly. Because ultimately, you choose how you want to feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier said than done because it's a conscious practice of stopping yourself to consciously reflect in a loving way
Right.
with the intention of taking a different action towards that new thing that you want to try out, that new feeling that you want so much but don't allow yourself to have. So by reflecting in that loving way, you give yourself the opportunity to grow, but you also take action on that, like you did, like I do, like I did.
Right.
It's an important piece to understand that your tree is ever growing and the branches will ever grow as long as you keep pruning all the ones that no longer serve you and move forward unapologetically.
And if you've got strong roots, you'll keep growing
Mm-hmm.
as long as you take care of the roots.
Yeah.
Feel the connection. You want to know what your roots look like? Well, look at a picture of the lungs.
Mm-hmm.
Your roots look a lot like that. Roots look like the circulatory system.
System. Yes. Yes.
And what are you nourishing it with? You nourishing it with toxins?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You nourishing it with love? Yeah. You nourishing it with joy? Because it's unnatural not to be in a state of joy.
Yeah.
I mean, we think that it's natural to be in a state of survival and negativity. No, that's just
Mhm.
what we're taught. Those are the stories that we picked up along the way through our life.
Yes.
Don't do that. It's going to make you look bad. Which
Says
becomes
who?
it,
To which I
it
say,
story to rule. I can't do that. I will look bad.
by whose standards? Says who?
You can't go out looking like that. Am I covered? Yes. Bye-bye.
Am I going to get arrested for my appearance? Okay, we're good.
In a previous life with children, they wanted to go out in shorts and a tank top when it was snowing. Okay. If you get cold, don't complain. I made the offer, the suggestion. I'm not going to fight. Because this is your decision and your life. You want to change the story that you've been living. You want to change the stories that you've been telling yourselves.
Mhm.
Do it. You don't? How's that working for you? If it's working great, okay. No judgment here. I love you anyway.
Yeah. I guess the whole point is we need to strengthen our own roots and we need to strengthen our core, which is returning our nervous system and ourselves to our natural state of being.
Yes.
Love, joy, compassion, gratitude, and build and create new stories and branches from that. And that's a process that takes time, but it starts with you making a choice to view yourself from a different light and see all those life experiences and the things that piled and made you who you are. Seeing yourself for coming this far. And I'd like to say that you didn't come this far just to come this far. But wait, there's more. So just keep going.
And there will be. And you know, if you're
Nurture.
following us, we have no end of things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're on episode 51. We ain't done yet.
It might be time for shameless plug time.
Leading into that, I was segueing into that because we literally could go on about stories for hours.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just an idea of when you were looking for that knowledge, for that of how do I fix myself? You already have all of the answers inside. All you got to do is give yourself permission to look and let go of the tension and the obligation.
Yeah.
Jasper almost fell out because he wasn't paying attention to how close he was to the edge of the table. But you can see him now.
There he is.
He wants to say hello to me and goodbye to you.
Hi, Jasper.
He said goodbye. So
Yes.
we'll start to say our goodbyes too.
Yes.
Shameless plug away.
Diane R. DeBiase on Facebook, Instagram, and heal.me. And I will just a quickie announcement. In about a month from now, on May 20th, I will be ordained. So it will become Reverend Diane.
That's
And when you're
I'm still
doing
going to
your
call you Diane. I may not call you Reverend Diane, but everybody else can call you Reverend Diane. I'm just going to call you Diane.
That's totally fine.
Except when I introduce you at the beginning of the show. I'll be like, oh, wait, I got to say it. Reverend Diane.
Yes. You know, the Reverend is a choice in it because it is a title that's a legal title.
Yes.
So it's either Reverend or the Reverend. I'm like, that kind of sounds like this Marvel character superhero. Like the Reverend is here.
That would be like me saying the Brindle Wolf. Actually, let me do that again. The Brindle Wolf. There we go.
I could have fun with that one. Little cape, I don't know.
So in June, okay, I'll be starting the show with, "Hi, I'm Brindle Wolf, and this is the Rev."
My street rapper name is Rev D. You know, like it's just listen, it just goes on. I can't. I just yes, you can call me Rev D.
Oh man.
It just
Yeah.
goes on. But anyway,
If you want to find her, go over to Facebook and look up Diane RDiBiase. I'll have the link in the description below this video. And
Thank
also,
you.
I believe help.me/Diane RDiBiase
Yes.
as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
heal.me.
Heal.me. Okay.
Yep.
I'll make sure I have that as well. And you can find me over on Facebook or right
Yeah.
here. Message me here. My profile link is in the channel bio, so check there. I also have the link for Evolve and Emerge if you are interested in joining that private Facebook group. It's by invitation only, so please request access to it. And this Sunday is the next Risers in Flight call, which is open to all members of Evolve and Emerge. It's at 1 p.m. Eastern. It will be via Zoom. It will be completely private, except for those who attend the call. So if you're interested in that, then you are completely welcome as long as you're a member. And if you would like to be part of the conversation, then subscribe to the call and you'll be able to enjoy whatever conversation that we have, because they get really amazing with our group. So take note of that, and I'd love to have you there. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. Click that subscribe button, click the notification bell so you know when we go live, and we don't have to shoot out reminders everywhere. YouTube will do it for us. Or if you're on Twitch, click on that follow button as well. Love to see you guys more often. And if you're watching the replay, please let me know over on Facebook that you're watching the replay. Thank you to those who were in the live chat, except for the bot that just appeared in Twitch. You may go away. You're not welcome. But to Lunaria and Dee and Llama Mama or Mama Llama over on YouTube. Thank you guys for tuning in. Whether you were late or not, you can always go back and take a peek. But we will be back next week. It's Diane's turn. I'm assuming she hasn't heard the next topic for today.
Nope, not yet,
Nope.
but it'll come.
She will let me know, and you will get a promo. Until then, love you. Please love you,
Love you.
because we love you, and I love you.
Yes.
And I hope that
Yes.
you guys have an amazing week. We will see you next Wednesday, same time, same channel.
See you next Wednesday.
It's Brenda Wolf and Diane, so listen up if you can. Yeah, journey with them today as they help you find your way.